Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday. So a nice turnaround from what we had yesterday, which is always nice to see. Bitcoin's up, miners were up today. We got a couple great stories also, some updates from Core with CoreWeave. We have Bit Digital also providing a nice update to their AI HPC customer that they have with now. They're getting an increase in that. And then we got Hive as well, provided their fiscal year 2024 results. So we'll get through all of that. And then we also have Griid pumping in the after hours right now. There's something going on there. We'll take a look at it quickly as well. But I appreciate you guys coming in here, but as always, you know the drill. This is not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. And here's my full disclosure for you guys. You guys can read that. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. Helps me out tremendously. And let's dive into it, see what's going on here with Bitcoin and the Bitcoin miners. So Bitcoin was up today quite nicely, right? It obviously bounced yesterday. Had a nice bounce yesterday towards the end of the day. And then it closed at approximately, what did we close at? Where is it at? 60,263. We started off the day there, and then we went up to 61,789 is where we closed. We're up a little bit here on the new day as well, which is a good sign here. And possibly, like I said yesterday, possibly this might be the bottom that we saw yesterday on the chart. We can see here this orange line is where we're kind of the bottom before. This was back in May, beginning of May actually. And then this is where we are now. So we are up in price. RSI actually came down, which was good. We kind of needed that to possibly have our next leg up going into like the 80,000, 90,000 mark potentially, right? So we'll see if this holds. We didn't come down to 57,000 mark here, which I thought we might, since the 61,000 mark didn't hold for us. I thought maybe we would come down, and we got pretty close to it, but we didn't hit the 57,500 mark, which is our previous support. Right now we are above our 61,000 support, so that's good. Our next resistance is going to be at 63,600 roughly. So things are looking up for Bitcoin, which is nice to see. I'm sure everybody's loving this more than so than when we had, we had almost, like 2-3 weeks of going down in price on Bitcoin. If we look at it, this started back in, Wednesday, the 5th of June, and we started going down in Bitcoin. So it's been pretty much 3 weeks plus of Bitcoin just trading downwards. It wasn't fun, but the miners at that point were also going up here. So today the miners were up as well, which was nice to see. ANI was up 8.74. Argo was up 3.57. Bit Digital, right? Based on the news that came out today with them increasing the contract with their current customer for additional HPCs there as well. We'll get into that story here shortly, but they were up nicely today, 39.71%. BitDeer was up 9%. Bitfarms was up 3.73%. Cypher was actually down today, 0.7%. Not sure why that is. Cleanspark was just up barely, 0.61%. CORZ up 6.19%. I thought with the news that came out for CORZ as well today that they would be up higher, but they're up 6.19%. I think they may be running some more tomorrow. Digihost was up 5.56%. DMG 4.21%. Hive 2.05%. Hut 8 up 16.68%. They have continued their run from yesterday as well. IREN was up 2.85%, just lightly. Was up much higher than it came back down. Marathon was up only 3%. Mawson up 8.41% there. Riot was actually down 0.11%. Stronghold was down 2.62%. And Wolf continues to rally here quite nicely, going up to 13.74% today on that. So all in all, a good day in the miners, which is nice to see as always, especially if you're invested in them. It's a lot easier when you see a green day compared to a red day. So today was definitely a day that put a smile on my face. Hopefully it put a smile on your face as well. But let's get into the stories that we do have here. So the first one we're going to get into is Bit Digital. So they announced finalized terms with a contract expansion with major HPC customer. Total contract value now worth approximately $275 million. They're pretty coy about who the customer there is. I guess they don't want to be named, which is fine. But we don't know who the customer is. But the customer is, I'm guessing, pretty bullish on HPC, AI, everything else, because they are increasing their contract, so they see a demand for it going forward. Right, so Bit Digital announced today that it has finalized the agreement to supply existing customer with an additional 2,048 GPUs over a 3-year term, commencing upon deployment. With this agreement, the company will supply this customer with a total of 4,096 GPUs for the respective 3-year periods, amounting to a total revenue of approximately $275 million or $92 million on an annualized basis here. The interesting part of it is they got the first $15 million for the first 2,048 GPUs, I believe. Yeah, and then the second contract was a little bit lower here at, came in just shy of that. Let me see, 275 million or an annual. So, yeah, so it's basically, 42 million here? I'm surprised that that's a little bit lower here. So we are seeing maybe some pricing coming down on HPC, hosting, and things like that going forward, because I think we have more players in this space, and that's maybe a result of that. But nonetheless, this is really, really good news for them. Continue on here. To fulfill the contract, the company has placed a purchase order for 256 servers from manufacturer Dell Technologies and authorized NVIDIA OEM. They are equipped with 2048 NVIDIA HGX H100 GPUs along with related equipment, which are expected to be delivered to the company during July 2024. So that's good there. That's next month, which is only a couple days away. The servers will be deployed in Iceland at the data center where the company existing AI servers are located and expected to begin generating revenue in August 2024, basically a month away. So this is fantastic news. That's why I put in the title of the video for today. Core is king right now in HPC, and Bit Digital is the queen right now. We're looking at just the revenue that they're getting from it for Bit Digital and Core themselves. So this is fantastic news here. And then continuing on here, the company intends to finance the deal with a mixture of cash and digital assets on the balance sheet. So they're going to use some cash. They're going to use some maybe Bitcoin that they have, maybe some Ethereum. We'll see if they use that. But Bit Digital has elected to enter into a sale leaseback agreement with a third-party entity for 1,024 GPUs, which will reduce the company's capital outlay commensurately. So they're only buying half of those, it looks like. So if you're buying 1,000 of those at 30,000 a piece, the GPUs cost right around 30,000 a piece, right? What does that actually come out to be? Let me look at my calculator really quick here while I do this math, because I can't do it in my head. So 1,000 times 30,000, that's approximately 30 million there. Or so that they're going to be outlaying in cash and in Bitcoin or Ethereum as well. Additionally, the company continues to evaluate debt financing options that would allow the company to retroactively finance its hardware asset. Right, so that might be a good thing, depending on what kind of interest rates they get there as well. And then Sam Tabar, Bit Digital CEO, commented, "We are pleased to finalize terms with our customer to expand their deployment to over 4,000 GPUs. This agreement significantly contributes to our goal of reaching $100 million annualized revenue run rate by the end of 2024, bringing us to over 90% of this target. Our primary objective in the HPC business is to execute effectively for our customers and help them achieve their AI ambitions. We continue to see robust growth trajectory for the segment and look forward to scaling even further as the year progresses." So all very, very good news here. Now, as far as where Bit Digital is valued right now, let's take a look at my numbers here that I have for them. And I'll be honest with you, my numbers don't include any of the AI stuff here. My numbers include the last 3 quarters and the current quarter that we're in for basically Bitcoin mining. And they're currently at $3.32. I have them just with Bitcoin mining themselves at $4.07 to $6.10, right? If we include the additional revenue of, what's it going to be? 90-some million a year, roughly, right? 92 million a year. If we include that into here, that's just, where can we add that into it? Let's do it to a combined total here. Maybe what we can do is, let's do this. Going forward, let's just run the numbers here. We'll take the current numbers that we do have for the last 4 quarters, or the current quarter that we're in the last 3 quarters, and divide by 50%, basically because we are past the halving event, right? So the revenue is going to decrease there unless Bitcoin actually goes up in value. So let's do this times 0.5 here really quick. And then let's add in there the 92 million that they are getting as well. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and see where we come up with the numbers here, okay? So based on that, we include the numbers here. The numbers stay the same. How is that possible? Combined total estimate, we're multiplying it times 0.5, adding 92 million. I would have thought the numbers would have gone up here based on that. Did I do something wrong here? Okay, this is always fun when you're adding stuff together. Let's do this in parentheses. Maybe that will make a difference. Something like that. No, it's still coming up. 65 million, wow. Okay, let's take this out. Are we still getting the same number there? 65,661,000, and then undo that. Yeah, well, that's actually interesting that we're getting the same number. Why is that happening? I would have thought that would have increased. Okay, let's now do the half of it and see what we get if we just include that number in there. Okay, that is weird. That's not increasing, actually. It should be increasing, plus 92 million. Why is that not increasing? Right, 1, 2, 3, 92 million. That is very odd that that's not working. It should be increasing that number. Well, this is interesting. Why is that not working? Okay, so I have a quirk here in the spreadsheet for some reason. I don't know why. But I think based on what we're seeing here, just based on their revenue from Bitcoin mining, and if you add on top of this the HPC play that they're in right now, right, being the queen in the market right now with that, I think they can probably get even more than where I have them at right now, between $4 and $6, right? I'll take a look at the numbers here, see if I can figure out what the heck is actually going on. So I'm actually getting the right number here, 157,661,000, but it's not. Why is that not translating over to this part? Right? Take a look at it. I mean, you can see it here, 157 million. So let's put that in there, 157. Let's just do 158 million. We'll do that. I don't know why that's having an issue here. 158 million. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and it's still stuck at. Okay, that is a quirk in the software there for some reason. That is fine. That one just does not want to go back into it. All right, let's change it back to where it was. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, I will work on this. I'll figure this out, but I'll give you guys the numbers updated maybe tomorrow or something like that, or I'll post it on Twitter or something. See if I can get this to actually work. And this is strange that it's not working. But like I said, I think they're still way undervalued from where they really should be. I think there's more upside potential as well to it. But that's kind of where I'm seeing things right now for them. It's great that they have the increase in HPC business as well. That's going to be a huge driver. The other thing I would like to see is them grow their hash rate for Bitcoin mining itself. They've been kind of stuck at 2.76 exahash here. They stated they want to get to 6 exahash, but we haven't seen any purchases of miners to get to that point. Other than that, I mean, they have a good balance sheet, good HODL here as well. We'll see how much of that they use. But I mean, you can see your total current assets, plenty of current assets, total current liability is very low. They're doing all the right things here. It's just we need to see continued execution, and I'd like to see some more growth in the Bitcoin mining side of things. That's about it. Okay, so that's it for Bit Digital. Let's take a look at Core here really quick as well. So Core Scientific announces new contract with CoreWeave for delivery of approximately 70 megawatts of additional infrastructure to host high-performance computing operations. And here are the details of it. So Core today announced that CoreWeave, the AI hyperscaler, has exercised its first option to contract for an additional infrastructure under the terms of the previously announced 200 megawatts for 12-year high-performance computing hosting contracts entered into CoreWeave on June 3rd. And under the terms of today's announcement agreement, Core Scientific will modify a total of 100 megawatts of its own infrastructure to deliver approximately 70 megawatts to host CoreWeave's NVIDIA GPUs for high-performance computing operations. And the reason that is that you're seeing the difference there from the 100 to 70 megawatts is, I believe, they're going to have to put in basically air cooling, air conditioning. So that's going to take up quite a bit of megawatts there to cool that facility. Other than that, I think it's just that, then the backup generation for power, redundancy in internet as well, and I think they'll be set. But I think the majority of that is going to be used for the cooling of the operations there. Let's see. Site modifications are expected to begin in the second half of 2024, with operational status anticipated in the second half of 2025. So in the first half of 2025, they're trying to get the 200 megawatts up and running for them, and then this will happen in the second half. Hopefully, it will happen in the first part of the second half, potentially, not until the other half or until the end of the half. Let's see. This new 12-year HPC contract will further increase Core Scientific's exposure to contracted multi-year dollar-dominated revenue, which is great news there for them. The revenue from the revenue to gross margin, the new contract with CoreWeave is expected to enhance earnings power and drive shareholder value, adding an additional $1.225 billion in projected cumulative revenue over the 12-year contract timeline to the more than $3.5 billion in projected cumulative revenue associated with previously announced contracts with CoreWeave. So this is huge for them. That's why I said right now Core is the king in HPC. Right? They also have a great operation in Bitcoin mining as well. This is just like a double whammy here for them. This is excellent. Let's see here. Consistent with the terms of the agreement with CoreWeave previously announced on June 3rd, all capital investments required to modify Core Scientific's existing infrastructure into cutting-edge application-specific data centers customized for the dense HPC will be funded by CoreWeave. So they're going to lay out the money for that. And then an estimated $105 million of capital investment associated with the additional contract will be credited against hosting payments at no more than 50% of monthly fees until fully repaid. The new agreement with CoreWeave also provides opportunities for 2 renewal terms of 5 years each. So this is the same kind of stuff that we saw with the original contract here. And the build-out is going to be to transform their current building from like a tier 1 data center to a tier 3 data center where you have redundancies in power, redundancies in internet, redundancies in cooling as well. So that all goes into it because you need to cool these sites up. And that is it for them. So if we look at Core here, let's go take a look at Core here really quick as well on my sheet. And Core here, again, I don't include any of the HPC business because it hasn't come into fruition yet, right? It's not going to come until 2025 sometime, at least maybe towards the end of the first half, and then more into the second half of it as well. They do have a small contract with CoreWeave right now with the HPC site that they are releasing, right, I believe. I believe that's in Texas. So they're getting some revenue from that right now. But it's not a huge portion of the couple $1 billion that they're getting over the next 12 years. But even now, so they're currently at $9.48. I have them at $19.32 to $28.98. Right, this is before the dilution that will happen with the warrants once they get exercised. So even if they do get exercised, I mean, we're looking at possibly being at $19 and something to, or sorry, $9 and something to, what is it going to be? $19 roughly on the high end potentially. And if we include the revenue they're going to be getting in 2025, that should go up much higher as well, depending how much they dilute going forward. But based on the revenue that they're going to be getting, I don't see them having to dilute that much more going forward. They can use the revenue that they're getting from the HPC side of business and build out their Bitcoin mining as well, do other things, build out even more HPC sites and things like that. So the future is very, very bright for them, and I see nothing but great things happening for them going forward. But we got to get the warrants out of the way, and at that point, I think we'll be golden, right? So I do own some shares in Core, not a lot. My dad owns a bunch, so my dad will probably make off really well on this. But that is it. So great news from Core as well. Okay, next here is going to be on, let's take a look at, well, before we get into Hive, let's take a look at what's going on with Griid here really quick, because Hive's going to take us a little while here. But check out Griid here. Griid is pumping like crazy here in the after hours. Here's the end of the day here, which ended at 3 o'clock this afternoon. The stock was at approximately $2.15. It's up another, 82 cents or something like that in the after hours right now. That is just crazy. So either something's going to happen tomorrow, or they announce something, or something's going to happen. There's just no way the stock has gone up this high in just a couple of days here, ever since the rumor came out that Cleanspark might be potentially looking to buy them out. But, it's had a huge run up here. And they're quiet about everything. There's nothing going on with them. When you look at their press releases here really quick, let's just go into Griid here really quick. Let's see. Griid, and going down here to the press releases, they haven't released anything in the last 4 months. So a lot of this is on rumors right now. Okay. But it's interesting to see how just a rumor can spread and pump the stock up so much. But we'll see if anything comes with, or comes from the Cleanspark. Are they actually buying them out? Are they not buying them out? Or is there something else happening there as well? I'm sure we'll find out in a day or so going forward. And if it doesn't happen, I think the stock's going to probably have a pullback at that point. But that's it on Griid here really quick. And then let's get into Hive here. So Hive has reported their fiscal year 2024 results. So Hive achieves annual revenue of $114.5 million. Adjusted EBITDA of $37.5 million with 2,287 Bitcoin on the balance sheet, and mined 3,123 Bitcoin for the year end March 31st, 2024, which is great news. I checked in here in their press release and in their filings on HPC's side of things, right? How are they progressing on that? And the only thing I could really find was the revenue they're getting there. The revenue has increased from Q3 to Q4 on it, which is good to see. It's 2 million something, I think, or 3 million even. I would have to look at it. We'll look at it here in a second, but I'm going off my memory here. But it is increasing, so that's nice to see there as well. But I haven't seen anything further than that as far as what are their aspirations there. Where do they want to get that? I know they want to get that to I think their goal was to get to 2.5 million per quarter, then to 2.5 million per month to get that somewhere around there. We'll see if they can do that going forward. But here's what we have here. So revenue from digital currency mining was $111 million for the fiscal year, in addition to the company's HPC's operations, resulting in a gross operating margin of $40.3 million, or a 36% operating margin, which is good. The company's SG&A for the fiscal year ended March 31st was $13.2 million. Therefore, on a cash basis, the corporate margin was positive for the fiscal year at $23.7 million. Hive achieved an adjusted EBITDA of $37.5 million for the fiscal year as well. And yeah, the numbers look pretty good for Hive here. So let's get into those. I'm not going to bore you guys with all the details here. We'll look at the numbers that I have for them in my sheets for Hive. and we'll kind of talk about it here. Right now, Hive has about 106 million shares outstanding based on the latest report that came out today. Their current market cap is about 330 million. Stock price is at $3.12. And their performance over the last 12 weeks hasn't been bad, right? I mean, they're only up 0.3% from 12 weeks ago, up 26% from 8 weeks ago. They're up 22% from 4 weeks ago, and last week they were up 5.1%. So they are kind of increasing here a little bit as time goes on, which is kind of nice to see for them, because they are way undervalued. And the only reason I think they are way undervalued is because we don't have a lot of future hash rate growth from them. That's the only thing I think that's holding stock back right now. They do have a nice HODL 2,468 as last reported for May. That's valued at 165 million right there. And then you can kind of see their production numbers have been coming down, which is kind of expected for May, especially after the halving event. But even before then, they were coming down. They were just not keeping up with the network hash rate for Bitcoin and increasing their own hash rate at that point. Monthly mining revenue, you can see that. Going down here to the quarterly metrics here. So here are the last 4 quarter revenues. Revenues have been increasing, which is good to see. Current quarter was estimated right now. We're at about 29 million. And so it's not as bad as people were thinking that it's going to be 50% of the revenue that they had in Q4, which is our Q1 basically, right? Current quarter, which is basically Q1 for them. It's Q2 for us. It's a little bit less, but not that much less. It's about, what, 8 million less or so? So it's not the exact half of what we thought it was going to be. Last 4 quarter operating costs have been going up a little bit here, but stayed actually decreased from Q3 to Q4, which is kind of nice to see there. Their cost to mine Bitcoin minus depreciation here has been increasing. It has been increasing for a lot of miners as well, unless you can actually grow faster than the network hash rate. And if you can't, you're going to see an increase in that. BTC mined has been coming down as well. And we're seeing that again with miners that are not growing as fast as the network hash rate in operations. But their debt to equity is good. Lower is better here. So they're at 0.18 right now. Current ratio is higher is better. So they're 6.7. Really good there. Healthy balance sheet. 185 million total current assets. Total current liabilities only 27 million. They are in great shape when it comes to balance sheet and financial health there. Okay, going down here. We'll get into these numbers over here, and maybe we can, let's see here. Hopefully you guys can see these numbers up here on the left. So fiscal year end 2024 numbers here are at the right hand side, sorry. We can see your total current assets increased just a little bit here from 104 million to, well, not a little bit, quite a bit, 104 million to 185 million here, so that's good. Total assets increased from 231 million to 307 million, that's great. And then their current liabilities actually went down from 28.8 million to 27.3 million, so that's good. Total liabilities went down also from 51 to 47. And then total liabilities and stockholder equity went up to 307 from 231. That's looking good there. Revenues here. So this is the interesting part here. They reported 114 million of revenue for fiscal year 2024. I had the numbers for Q3, Q2, and Q1. We didn't have the numbers for Q4. So I'm taking the total number here and subtracting the prior 3 quarters to come up with Q4 for all these figures down here below. And that came in at 37.354 million. I was actually pretty close to that based on their self-mining, or actually, sorry for the scrolling, but I'm going to point this out to you guys. So self-mining came in at 35.07 million. I had them at, let's see here, 35.2 million. So I was off by just a little bit. I was a little high, 0.38. Not bad, right? Pretty close. That's what I love to see on those numbers. The closer we are to tracking them, the better we can do on these things. Self-mining, so we talked about that. High-performance computing actually increased here to 2.2 million here in the quarter, which is nice. For the year was 3.4 million. They had in Q3 reported 1.1 million. So it's a nice increase here. Basically, what is that going to be? Over 100% increase in revenue just in HPC business quarter over quarter. So that's good. We'll see how this continues going forward in the current quarter that we're just finishing up here in June. When they report that, we'll see if we have an increase in that. That would be nice to see there as well. Cost of sales, what do we have here? Operating and maintenance costs increased here a little bit to 20.3 million from 19.9 million. Depreciation amortization, pretty close to where it was in the prior quarter as well. And then let's see here. What else do we have here? Gain on disposable assets. That was at 1.56 million. They got an increase in there. General and administrative. I like seeing this. They only spent 3.1 million on that side of things for Q4. It has been coming down here. So that's nice to see here. The best was in Q1 of last year with 2.7 million. but still come down from where they were in Q2 and Q3 as well. So that is good to see. I like seeing that nice low number there. Foreign exchange gains, share-based compensation was only 599,000, so that's pretty good there. It's actually come down from what they had in Q2 and in Q1 as well. So that's good to see there. Very judicious, I think, with their revenue and compensation packages. What else do we have here? That's kind of interesting. Let's see. Total, let's see. Expenses here was going down here. Total loss gain income for the period was actually negative 8.1 million. Right, and that includes, believe that includes, yes, general administration, where is it? Depreciation and amortization. Yeah, it includes that as well on there. Going down here, we have net loss and comprehensive income. They came in at 47 million here for the period, and for the year it was 25 million. And then if we take out depreciation, it came at 63.9 million. But for the year, they lost 57 cents per share. We had 90 million shares on average, basic and diluted, I guess, at that point. But if we look at minus depreciation, they came in at, looks like 71 cents positive for the quarter of Q4. And for the year, it would have been like $1 or $2 if we exclude depreciation in there as well. Okay, so numbers look really good here for them. If we look at some of the other metrics that we have here that I like to look at, what is the cost of mining one Bitcoin? We talked about that already. We talked about also current ratio and debt to equity ratio. Book value right now, 259 million. Price to book ratio 1.24, enterprise value 107 million, and then EBITDA came in at 71 million, EV to EBITDA 1.51. Revenue was 37.34 for the year, so that equated to about 10% of their general and administrative costs. Was only 10% of the revenue here, so that's pretty good. That's pretty low, and it has been coming down here. You can see here they were at 33% in Q2, 13% in Q3, and then Q4, which was our Q1, 10%. Like seeing that number really good there. So those things are all looking good. Now, where are they based? Where are they priced at right now? I don't have them with a lot of growth going forward, right? If we look at the numbers down here, the miners that they do have, I have them getting to approximately 5.6 exahash. They are currently at, where are they at here at the end of May? They were at 5.04, looks like. So they still have a little bit of growth here based on this. And a lot of that has to do with them changing out some of the older miners that they've been getting in. And they do have plans to grow even more, right? They want to get to possibly 8 exahash by the end of the year. But they do want to maintain, and they stated this, they want to maintain 1% of the network hash rate as well. So if network hash rate goes to 800 exahash, they want to be at basically 8 exahash at that point, unless things change going forward from them. But it doesn't seem like they're going to be changing from them otherwise. Great operations, really good, healthy balance sheet. They're very judicious with their costs and things like that. Operations side of things are great. It's just the growth. I think the company is just lacking growth right now. And based on that, I have them at pretty well valued right now, between $2.76 and $4.13. They're at $3.12. I think they're pretty well valued. Now, if we start seeing some growth from them, right, where we might see them maybe get to 10 exahash. Maybe they have a goal to get to 10 exahash or something like that. At that point, I could raise the P to 10 on them. And nothing's working for me today on this sheet. So that would basically, I think, let me see here. Let's try this. Let me see if I can maybe restart this. For some reason, I don't know why, if it loaded wrong or something, but it's just not working for me right now. Let's see if I can close this out. Let's see, go back here. Let's do this. We're having some technical difficulties right now, so please stand by while I try to fix this doggone spreadsheet. Let's see here. Okay, let me close out numbers. We'll see what's happening there with it. See if we can get that back up and running. Bear with me while we work through this. Okay, and then that's popped back up here. So we have a 10. Okay, we're back. Okay, that has fixed things. So looks like it just loaded wrong. So now Hive with a P of 10, that would get them to $5.51 to $8.27. That would make me think that they are undervalued if they have, or at least if they provide good growth going into the end of this year as well, right? But right now, at being only at 5, let's see here, we can see they're 276 to 413. They're currently at 299, and it didn't save my numbers for them, I don't think. But they're pretty fairly valued right now, based on just this, right? So future growth helps tremendously here, getting the numbers up, and hopefully we see that from them going forward. But that's kind of where they are right now, right? Really good miner, just not a lot of growth. But let me know what you guys think of that. And then while we're at it here, let's take a look at, we were going to do, what was it, Bit Digital as well. So Bit Digital on the numbers here, hopefully this will work now. I think it was, let me see, what were we doing? We were doing this times the 0.05 for the revenue decrease from the Bitcoin mining, and then times, adding 92 million per year for them. If I could only type 92 million, 1, 2, 3. What do we get there? Okay. So then we have them at $5.91 to $8.86. They're at $3.40. I think that they are still undervalued from that point as well. Okay. Let me fix that going back. And that should be good. Yeah. So that's kind of where Bit Digital would land at that point. So I think there's still room for Bit Digital to run going forward. And they could overshoot that numbers as well. If they come out with numbers saying that they're going to be either growing their hash rate even more than what they talked about, getting to 6 exahash, or if they come out and say, hey, we're going to buy some infrastructure, because they do have the capital to possibly do it, because they are very asset light right now when it comes to infrastructure. They host everything that they do, whether it's HPC or their own self-Bitcoin mining as well. I think I would like to see them get their own stuff as well. I think you have better control over things at that point. But we'll see in due time, I guess. But that's it. Let's get into you guys' Q&A side of things. And as always, my little sales pitch here for you guys is the spreadsheets that I have on Patreon. Patreon membership is only $8 a month if you want to join there. Link is in the description for that. A bunch of great people on there right now. We do have a Discord server as well. And I host sometimes, not every time, but sometimes during lunch hour, I will host a voice channel there, just to talk about some of the things that are happening here in the mining space as well. So that's all available to you guys there. And that's my sales pitch here. Let's get into the Q&A side of things. I'm sure you guys have a lot of questions and things you want to talk about. So let's get into it, and we'll call it a day here. Okay. Let's see. First one is from, let's see. Chester says, have you seen the article regarding the new chip that Bitdeer developed? Miners will be operating at full power, but with only using 24% energy. That should be exciting news. Are you talking about the 5 joules per terahash chip that they're planning to come out in 2025, I believe it is? Or did they come up with something new? I haven't seen anything new recently, but you might be talking about the 5 joules per terahash. Let me see here. Hard Knox says, Seb, your dad timed the investment course perfectly. It looks like he knows a thing or two about miners. Maybe he should attempt to a hostile take over your channel. Too many technical difficulties. Yeah, I mean, my dad sometimes goes a little full in on things. He does not like to diversify much. He wants to go all in on something, and it's kind of hard to stop him from doing that. So I just try to provide him with as much data as I can on the stuff. And CORZ was one of those ones that I was telling him a while back, that it's looking really good. He got into it before the bankruptcy. Even at that point, he had shares. He bought more while the company was in bankruptcy. And he's just been reading up a lot on it. And I think he's been, there's a lot of people that are out there praising CORZ and their operations and things like that in the last, I would say, probably year or so, right? They've been just on Yahoo channels or Yahoo comments and things like that. And he reads all that stuff. He gets into it. So I think that kind of boosted his confidence into going more deeply into CORZ as well. Let's see. Okay. Hi, Seb. Do you feel any need to diversify your bets from Cleanspark, IREN, Bitfarms, CORZ? Hard to see Bitfarms stuck in FUD with AI miners running up. It's something that I always think about, right? Do I want to diversify into things? But sometimes I look at things, and when I see things that have been beaten down or continue to get beaten down, right? So if there's a lot of fear, when people are fearful, that's usually when I would try to be greedy. If there's a reason, let me rephrase that. If I don't think there's a adequate reason why people are fearful, I'll try to get in more into it. I work a little bit differently that way. I was doing the same thing with Cleanspark, right? People were fearful of their dilution, all that stuff. All that time I was buying into it. I was just buying as much as I could into it. That has worked out. IREN has worked out as well. IREN, I wish I would have been buying more of it earlier, right? You're not going to catch every single one of these. But I was looking at that one back in 2022. Didn't start getting into it until 2023. Bitfarms have been getting into it for a while as well. There's a lot of stuff going around them. We'll see if that one turns into a gold nugget or if it turns into dust or something like that. on that one. But so far, IREN and Cleanspark are gold nuggets going forward. CORZ, I think, is going to turn into a gold nugget as well. It has already turned to a gold nugget for a lot of people that got into it when it was in bankruptcy at a couple pennies. So if you bought then and held on right now, you're sitting pretty. So congrats to any of those people that have done that. Let's see here. Seb, I'm a little confused when I hear why pay the premium when buying a miner if it takes 2+ years to break ground, build out, order machines that have not been made. Why not paying the premium? Well, that's, yeah, I mean, there's two ways to look at it, right? So if you don't have any infrastructure, or you don't have any growth plans currently, which Riot does, right? So you're probably talking about Riot. Riot currently has, of course, the kind of facility. They're building that out. It's a huge facility. They have everything that they need to build that out, and they have, it's just a matter of how many months does it take them to do that. So you can do that at much less of an expense than if you're trying to buy somebody out, like buying out Bitfarms right now, which you're going to be paying a huge premium for that as it is right now. So just based on that. So, I mean, if you're looking at only a couple months plus, you have to think about this, that if the deal goes through, right, the deal has to reach past some regulatory hurdles. So you're looking at possibly 6 to 12 months anyways before you take ownership of Bitfarms at that point. We've seen that with the merger. Maybe mergers are a little bit different when you look at Hut 8 and USBTC. They did a merger of equals. I don't know if that was longer than expected or something like that, but that took them like 12 months or something like that as well to get that all completed. So it just takes time anyways, right? So the way I see it, why spend the time, the energy and everything else trying to buy somebody out when you already have a clear path to get to where you need to be anyways? You're just better off concentrating on getting your own infrastructure built out as fast as possible. If you need to put in more people into it, put a little bit more capital into it as well to get that built out faster. But that's still very doable there. So that's kind of the way I look at it. Let's see here. Thank you, Seb. Appreciate you. You're very welcome. Appreciate all you guys coming in here daily. So thank you for that. Let's see. Hey, Seb, love your work. Could you please go through your spreadsheet and highlight the most undervalued miners currently? Thanks. The most undervalued miners currently, I mean, there's a bunch of metrics you could take a look at. The main one, not one of the main ones, but I think the one that kind of says it all here. Let me see here if I can pull this up. I recently, actually today, I did, where is it at? So you guys know how I was doing the market cap metrics for exahash, right, or petahash. I updated that to enterprise metrics, so now we're looking at enterprise value. So we're taking out basically, so it's market cap plus debt minus cash minus HODL, right? So we're looking at that and then looking at their current hash rate, where they're at, and putting a value to that based on that. So right now, based on the current hash rate, we can see here that right now, Hive potentially looks like the most undervalued here, being valued only 16 million per exahash. And you got Riot at 72 million, Core at 81 million, right? Those two probably should be valued a little bit more there as well. Hut at 93 million, that might be closer to where it possibly should be because, I mean, we just don't know about Hut 8 anymore as far as their self-mining. And this is just looking at their self-mining. This does not include any JVs, any HPC business, anything like that. This is just looking at the Bitcoin mining business side of things. And then you got Bit Digital at 102 million, Marathon 114, Cypher 118, Bitfarms 136, right? So it's being pretty well valued right now. BitDeer 170 million, Cleanspark at 174 million. And then I need to probably space these out a little bit more. Let's see here. So we can see these. Let's see here. Hopefully you guys can see all those. Okay. Cleanspark at 174 million. TeraWolf at 200 million. Iris now is getting valued at 204 million per exahash. Right, they're the top dog right now, so they're the most overvalued for the current hash rate. Now, when we look at their future hash rate as far as what has been purchased and what they're going to be getting to in the next year, I would say probably next year, right? By the end of the year, next year as well, some of these guys have plans to grow even into 2025. We can still see that Hive is now valued at only 15 million per exahash, Riot at 26 million. So Riot's even more undervalued here based on this. Bitfarms at 48 million, right? Another one that's way undervalued here. You got Cleanspark at 56 million, right? Hut 8, 57. Okay, maybe that's more accurate for them. Marathon at 65, Cypher at 66, Iris at 68. But then you got ones like Core being at 81 million, Bit Digital 101 million, BitDeer 158 million, and TeraWolf 159 million. And this is where I think these BitDeer, especially TeraWolf, because they do have some growth this year, but not as high of a growth as we see from Cleanspark, IREN, Bitfarms, Riot, and Marathon as well, right? these guys are getting more undervalued right now for their future hash rate compared to some of these guys down here. So my expectation is, looking at this, and this is the difference between the current and the future, you can see that Iris, I think, is more undervalued right now still, followed by Cleanspark, Bitfarms, and you got Riot in there, Marathon, Cypher as well. I think those might actually kind of pivot going forward when they do actually start getting more and more hash rate online as the months go by. So that's kind of where I'm seeing things. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree on this. Okay, let's go back here. M asks, what's up with Griid? Hearing Cleanspark possibly buying them out. Can you give any info on Griid specs? I can't. Griid doesn't report any monthly production updates. That is one thing that I rely on. And if a company doesn't provide those, I don't cover them because it's really tough to see how they're progressing, how they're doing. And a lot of things change in this space. You know how Bitcoin's volatile, how the miners are volatile. If you don't have that information, it's very hard to figure out if they're doing the right things, doing the wrong things. And it's hard to tell whether you should get into a miner or not. So I really don't know. But yeah, I mean, the rumor was Cleanspark was supposed to be buying him out, which was sent out there by Mike Alfred, potentially, right? That was a rumor, that something that he was thinking might happen. Let's see. Hi, Seb. I think Wolfpack are enjoying every HPC news of the other miners, waiting for our news. Yeah, TeraWolf is building out an HPC data center as well. I don't know where the progress is on that yet. I know they've been installing miners for mining, which they're ahead of schedule there, which is great to see as well. Let's see. Sam Foods asks, hi Seb, why small miners are entering into HPC as comparable large cap miners? Who is right? I don't know. Time is going to tell on that one. We do have a couple miners that are not interested in HPC. We have Cleanspark, Riot, I believe, and Marathon as well. And I think Bitfarms is also kind of stated that as well, but I'm not sure so much on Bitfarms right now. But so you have like the four biggest potential miners there that are not interested in it, whereas you're seeing some other miners that are kind of thinking about it, right? IREN has a small HPC business going on right now. You got Cypher getting into a TeraWolf. Bit Digital has a huge contract already. I mean, Core has a monster contract there as well. So, and then some of the smaller miners are also looking into it. They're just looking at, geez, it's hard to tell right now. I think we're just in the this is like Bitcoin mining back in, what was it, 2017, 2016, where we just started to see these public miners come on board. I think that's kind of in those stages right now. I think there's a lot of trial and error happening with the miners when it comes to HPC, and it might take a year or two for us to actually see what works, what doesn't work, and that side of things. Let's see here. Hey, Seb, did you sell any Rivian for Bitfarms? No, I still only own about 100 shares. I think it is 100 shares on Rivian. I haven't sold any for Bitfarms. I did buy Bitfarms yesterday. I told you guys about it yesterday. I still have a little powder left that I can deploy here later on this week if we get a dip. And I will do that. Even if we don't get a dip, I think I'll just deploy the rest of it this week and then see if I can maybe deploy some more powder in a week or two again. Let's see. Hey, Seb, Wolf is at 480 now. Do you still believe that it is not going to over 15 your target? Do you still believe that it is not going to go over 15 your target? I think it will. Depends on Bitcoin, right? So let me see here. Take a look at TeraWolf really quick on my sheet. Bear with me here. Okay, TeraWolf. Right now I'm between 366 and 549. They're at 40 right now. I think they're pretty fairly valued right now. But this is where Bitcoin price is at right now. Now, if Bitcoin goes up 200,000, 250,000, 200,000, we can definitely see a 2 to 3x, even 5x on TeraWolf still, potentially. From here, I would say more like a 3x is more doable. That would get them to approximately $15. I think it's doable. Yeah. I don't think it's out of the question there, potentially. But Bitcoin's going to go up to like 150,000 and maybe even a little higher. Let's see. Why don't miners with big hodls sell it for shares buyback at the beginning of the bull run? They can't get leveraged value on their own stocks, improve EPS significantly, and create more value by buying buyback hype. That's a good question. Nobody has done that. A lot of times the miners want to hold on to their hodl to get the appreciation, but then you've also seen miners that hold on through the bear market, don't do anything with it. So they really don't do anything. They just continue to stack on top of it. So I don't know. I'm not sure why they don't do that. I don't know if it's going to be a good thing. I think the good approach to it is to hodl more before the halving event, and after the halving event a little bit as well, and then sell it as the BTC starts going a little bit more parabolic on the price appreciation there, and sell at that point, so that way you have cash to then survive the bear market and build out in the bear market as well. And hopefully at that point you don't have to dilute as much. Let's see. BTC at 100,000. Where do you see Bitfarms, IREN, and CORZ 2025 January? So you're looking at the end of the year here. Bitcoin goes up to 100,000. That's roughly, what is it now? 50% increase in that. So at that point, we're looking at maybe 2 to 3x on these miners, maybe a 4x at most, I would think, somewhere around there, conservatively thinking. But things could go much higher because you get FOMO in there. People are going to be bidding up some of these things here. Question 7. From your diversification perspective, do you consider a wise move to buy big miners like Marathon, Cleanspark, and Riot, along with small ones like Bitfarms? Thank you. So, I mean, I bought Cleanspark when it was small. It was much smaller than Marathon, Riot, right at the point back in 2022 when I started buying in January. So you got to look at the operations of the miners themselves. You can't really go on just because a big miner, they're big miner, right? They're going to do possibly well, or they're going to do pretty crappily. Like Riot has done pretty crappily here in the last 18 months. Excuse me. Sorry, my throat's getting dry. But so even with them being big, that doesn't mean good things going forward, right? They have to prove themselves to the market by good operations, things like that. And sometimes the smaller miners, where Cleanspark was a very, very small miner back in 21, they prove themselves by growing their hash rate in the bear market. They're selling Bitcoin in the bear market, all those things, right, the other companies weren't doing. And so I think it does make sense if you want to get some of the big miners and some of the smaller miners as well. Some of the miners that are growing, I think, have great operations. Those may go do very well. They might be possibly like another mini Cleanspark, right? Cleanspark started with 100 petahash. They're at 17 exahash right now in, what is that, like 3 years? 2021, yeah, 3.5 years roughly. Right, that's huge growth for a company that came out of nowhere. Let's see. Is IREN an HPC business? They have a small contract right now. I think it's a short-term contract too. I'm not sure if it's 3 months or 6 months, but the contract is there, and they're generating, I think last reported was like $1 million a month or a quarter. I can't remember. One of those two. Excuse me. So they do have a HPC side of things in there. At what price would you be selling your positions each on Bitfarms, IREN, and CORZ? I'd like to get Bitfarms to like $15. At that point, I might start to dollar cost average out. IREN, my target is above like $80 in this bull cycle potentially. CORZ is a tough one because a lot of their revenues are going to come until 2025, the second half of 2025 potentially. So that's a tough one. Depending where the Bitcoin bull run goes and how long it lasts, could we be at peak by the middle of the year next year? Maybe. I'm not sure. So that's kind of harder one to see. But I think, yeah, of course, it's a little bit tougher to figure out for me, at least right now. On that one, I would have to run some numbers on it. Yeah. But I think it's much higher from where it is right now. It is said to see how market value miners that are foregoing self-mining to AI, excluding HUT 8, because they've decided not to provide monthly self-mining data. The stock is moving faster than the rest. Market value. I'm not sure I understand the question, so hold on. I'm trying to read it over here where I can see it properly. It's sad to see how market value miners that are foregoing self-mining to AI. Okay, so I've said before, and I said in yesterday's video too, if Hot 8 does not provide production updates, monthly production updates, I'm going to have to drop him because I can't see what's going on there, right? So that's the only reason. But it's not because they're going to AI, it's because they're not providing those monthly updates. Because of Hot 8 not providing monthly updates, self-mining data, the stock is moving faster than the rest. Well, the stock is doing that because they are also getting $150 million investment, right, from a company, Code 2. On that side of things. And the stock has been beaten down quite a bit in the past with the merger and everything else. I mean, the data was all messed up for them for a long time. It still is a little bit. So it's just not that easy to quantify where Hot 8 really should be priced on it. But poor operations in Bitcoin self-mining, they do have pretty good revenue from managed services and hosting as well. But we'll see how that plays out, right? I mean, historically, we've looked at miners that are growing really well. Bitcoin mining, pretty much their primary business. That's what's usually run the miners up we'll see if the AI can offset that as well. Hi, Seb. What is your DCA range for the miners holding Bitfarms, Cleanspark, IREN, CORZ? Please understand only Bitfarms is in the range right now. Thank you. What is your DCA range for miners holding? I think the way you have to look at it is what is the upside potential with the miners? Can you still at least get a 3 to 5x on the miners? If you think that's the case, I think you can still dollar cost average into them, right? Because at that point, you're going to be making 3 to 5x on it potentially, or higher, right? So that's the way I kind of look at it. And then, so with like, how can I put this? So with Cleanspark and IREN right now, I think I can at least get a 5x out of those guys, right? And then when I look at Bitfarms, I'm seeing maybe I can get a little bit more than the 5x on that. So that's kind of the one that I'm kind of dollar cost averaging more into. That's kind of where I think my capital might do a little bit better going forward, but we don't know that, right? The other two might surprise us with additional future hash rate growth, and they could pop even higher, right? But based on what I see right now, that's kind of the way I'm going with things. If you have a small position of HUT 8, will you sell it for Bitfarms? Would I sell for Bitfarms? So if I had a small position in HUT 8, would I sell it? And well, I don't have a HUT 8 position because of all the stuff that's happened in the past. Poor operations, things like that. Just issues after issues. So that's the reason why I didn't own HUT 8. If I did own them, I probably would sell them and get into Bitfarms. I think that's just me though, right? We'll have to see how they do with the AI side of things. If they stop providing operational updates as well, I don't like that either. So that would be a deal breaker for me there because I can't really see what's going on in the company. Let's see. What do you think of Soluna? They've been running here. Yes, they have been running. They have gotten a contract with somebody, HPE, so Hewlett Packard Enterprise, I believe it is, for, what is that, 20 million a year, I think it is. I'm going off memory here, but somewhere around there. So I think that's the reason why. They're also a very small miner. They only have like 800 petahash for self-mining. They have 1 point something exahash for hosting as well. And they got into trouble back in 2022, which quite a few miners got in trouble financially in 2022 as well. They stopped providing operational updates at that point. I stopped tracking them because of that. And I haven't really tracked them ever since then. The new CEO seems to be doing a pretty good job. They're trying to turn things around, but they are doing a lot of these kind of partnership deals with companies. I don't know how well that's going to work out. Let's see. Which miners have the most megawatts available to use? If you're asking that currently, I think it's probably going to be Riot, I think. Right, with Corsicana, they have 1 gigawatt there, potentially. But if you're looking out further out even, we're looking at that point, we're looking at possibly IREN. IREN has, I think, 3 gigawatts under their total accessibility that they have into the future there, but I'm not sure on that one. That's kind of where we're at. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see. Hi, so do you see Riot stocks to double in the next 6 to 7 months, considering the BTC price at current levels? Yeah, I would think so. Yeah, I mean, if Bitcoin goes to 200,000, 100-something thousand, I think the stock can double. I think it's been beaten down, and it's been beaten down because of their operations, and I think maybe investors are not too happy with potentially them trying to buy out Bitfarms. I don't know. I mean, Bitfarms has been going up, and Riot has been going down, so it's kind of strange the way that's been working out. Let's see. Sorry, was pulled into a meeting. Did you already answer the Bit Digital question? Would it be good to buy on a pullback, or would it likely go up for days? And now is still a good time to buy early. I'll just say this. I did cover it earlier. I think Bit Digital right now is still undervalued from where it really should be. And it probably should be at least 2x from here to be fairly valued based on just what I'm seeing here right now, at least. So I think there's still more for it to run up. I don't know if it's going to do that. It's had a nice run up here recently. Today, we may have a little bit of a pullback, go and then run much more, but I don't know if that's going to happen. So if you can DCA, I would DCA into it and see where it goes. Can we expect an AI deal for IREN soon? That I don't know. Don't have a crystal ball on that one. They'll report it if they do have anything for it. They said that they're working with customers and things like that on it, but it just all depends on the terms that they get there. Let's see. What do you think of the current Riot and Bitfarms situation? I don't think it's going to go anywhere. think the Bitfarms board is pretty entrenched there, and we'll see what happens. But I don't think they're going to go for any deal south of maybe $7, $8 a share or something like that, right? At that point, it might make more sense for them to sell. But with the previous offer that Riot had at $2.03, that was just too low of an offer for the company, with especially huge growth going into this year and then growth going into next year as well. So I don't think that's going to happen. But I think it's going to be putting downward pressure potentially on the stock a little bit, or keeping it maybe a little bit depressed for a while until that gets all sorted out there and they get a new CEO as well. But we'll see. I'd be happily surprised if the stock actually does a nice rally here going forward. Let's see. I see you guys are talking about Asher here and the USBTC merger. What else do we have here? For future hash rate M2, do you consider year and 2024 values or 2025 values? What makes more sense to you? I see some posts on X from other creators using future hash rate arbitrary from 2024 year and 20. So I'm using the hash rate that has been purchased. So like, for example, Cleanspark has purchased 50 exahash to get to 50 exahash, right? But their goal for this year is only 32 exahash. So I'm going with the 50 exahash. I have Riot getting to 40 exahash as well. Their goal is to get to 31 exahash this year. Marathon's saying that they're going to get to 50 exahash, and I think that's kind of what they have purchased as well. So I'm kind of using their purchased miner, or purchased hash rate, I guess you could say, on that one. I don't know what's the best way to do it, but that's kind of the way I look at it, and it's kind of worked out. It's not exact. It's just kind of seeing where things are kind of priced in, right? It's one of the metrics that I use. There's other metrics that we also used on this as well. But yeah, that's one of them. If Riot ever decided to go into HPC, do they have the means, facilities, equipment to do it? Their facilities are built a little bit differently. They're built for, they're huge facilities, right? They're built for immersion cooling in there right now. So if they were to do it, they would have to possibly change the buildings going forward potentially for that, because the servers, the HPC servers really don't run well in immersion cooling unless you use like the two-phase immersion cooling. At that point, that would be feasible. But I don't think they want to get into that. So I don't know. I don't see that happening unless they retrofit maybe like the Rockdale facility, which are air cooled there. They could possibly do that in there. That's a possibility there. When do BTC mining hosting contracts for CORZ up for renewal? Adam said they wouldn't be renewed and self-mine. I don't know when the mining contracts for this for the hosting there. I don't know when those end. But it sounded like they were saying either this year or early next year. I think they're ending because they said that they can use that space for their self-mining and things like that. So I'm guessing it's going to be relatively quickly here. Especially looking back 6 months, knowing what you know now, would you have invested heavily in Bitfarms, or would you have picked a different mine? I would have done possibly more 50-50 between Bitfarms and IREN at that point. I was getting in more heavily into Bitfarms than I was in IREN. So basically, let me put it to you this way. So if I had $1,000 to invest in, right, what I was doing, I was trying to get round numbers in the number of shares I was buying in Bitfarms. So for example, let's just say I was buying 400 shares in Bitfarms. They got me to like maybe $900 some odd or something like that in cost, right? So the rest of it, whatever the $100 or less than that was used, I was buying into IREN. I wish I would have done it more 50-50 at that point. Because going back to just 6 months back, IREN came out saying that they're going to get to 20 exahash. Bitfarms came out saying that they're getting 21 exahash. Based on the numbers that I was seeing, they looked like they were more undervalued. But then IREN came out and said they're getting the 30 exahash. So that kind of switched things around, and IREN really took off quite quickly. So I didn't foresee that happening, and that's why maybe I think I should have won in 50-50. Hey, so what could be a potential catalyst for Bitfarms to increase from its current level? Possibly a CEO appointment that might work, and then also maybe Riot kind of walking away from trying to do the hostile takeover, or being in a what do they call it? Oh, geez. Where an investor, active investor, or an investor that tries to make changes in the company, activist investor. There we go. Let's see. The real Gensler says MicroStrategy is king. They are good. I mean, they usually do like a 2x of Bitcoin does. If you're investing in them, you're going to do very well. Let's see. Hi, Seb. I just joined. Miners were up well early in the day and came down. Any reason other than possible profit taking? I think it's just profit taking. You might also have some companies doing the ATM as well. What else could there be? I mean, it could be those two things, I guess. We might also have some rotation from the ones that have done pretty well going into some of the other ones. So like you saw Cleanspark being up quite nicely in the morning and then kind of weighing down a little bit, right? That could be people taking profits there and also rotating into some of the other miners like Bit Digital, right? That had a nice rally. So those things could be at play as well. Let's see. Okay. Who are the miners with good operations and which miners are not? Good operations. So you're looking at Cleanspark, Bitfarms, IREN, Hive, Cypher, TeraWolf have pretty good operations. They're CORZ as well. So CORZ is in there as well. The ones that haven't had great operations would be really just Marathon and Riot right now. Because Marathon's had issues in the last 4 months, January, February, March, and April. Riot has had issues for the last basically 12, 18 months or so, which they're working on to get those fixed here. And hopefully they get those fixed this summer. Let's see. So what country are you originally from, if you don't mind me asking? Not a problem. I'm originally from Poland. Let's see. Can we expect an AI contract for IREN soon? I already answered that. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see when that one happens. How confident are you that we hit targets over at Bitfarms after keeping an eye on their BTC mined? So you're talking about the targets to get to 12 exahash by the end of this month. I don't know if we're going to get to 12 exahash. I think we might get close. If we get close to like 11 exahash, I think I'll be pretty happy with that. And then hopefully we'll provide a reason as to why they didn't get to 12 exahash. Maybe it's just miners in transit, electricity not being hooked up or something like that. We'll find out when that does happen. Let's see here. Woodstock says, I did sell HUT today, bought Bit Digital and added to CORZ and IREN. Nice. Let's see. Bitfarms BTC mines hasn't increased on the daily. Are you looking at their wallet, maybe? Is that where you're looking at the data on that one? Let's see here. Whoa, first time I landed on the live stream. Thank you for all your hard work. Watching all your videos first thing in the morning. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Hey, thanks for coming in. Let's see. Hey, Sebastian, do you think IREN is due a repricing run like CORZ once they announce an AI deal? They have the infrastructure built to pivot to HPC. No need to spend a lot on reconfiguration. Well, IREN does have a dual purpose built facilities, right? So they are spending like $750,000 per megawatt to do that. And the reason they're doing that is so they can have high density energy or requirements for some of the HPCs, right? So that works for them. The only thing is they don't have the redundancies that some customers might be looking for, right? So when they are looking for redundancies, they're looking at redundancies in power. So you need backup generators for that. You also need redundancies in internet, and you need redundancies in cooling as well, which some customers require that if you have inference for AI. So their facilities are not built for that. Their facilities are more built for language model learning, things like that, things that don't need inference, right, where you don't really care if the power goes out. I mean, you can restart it and continue on. So I don't know. So it would depend on the kind of customer that they get there. What would it take for you to change your stance on for sure profits being worth more to investors in exaggerated growth targets? So on that one, you're talking about the AI where you have sure profits. You have a contract in place, right? Then it goes on for 2-3 years, or in CORZ stance, it's 12 years. That is always nice, right? When you have steady revenue there. But how many customers will you be able to find that are that size of a CoreWeave or something like that, right? You have big players in this space: Google, Microsoft. Who else is in there? Amazon as well. Apple is getting into it. So you have a lot of these bigger players that are getting into it. That are going to be also putting in a lot of capital into it to build out their own AI-driven data centers and things like that. But how many of these startups are you seeing that have the huge capital backing that CoreWeave has had so far? I'm still trying to look for other ones that are like this. I haven't been able to find them. I mean, if you have a list of those, I'd be grateful if you could share with us. I think that'd be great. But I haven't been able to find anything. So it will greatly depend on the customer that they can get and how well they're backed and what they're doing and things like that. So far, having two miners get really good contracts, Core getting the best one here, Bit Digital getting a really good one as well. Other than that, nobody else has these kind of contracts here. So if that starts changing, okay, maybe then I'll change my stance a little bit on it as well. Let's see here. Greg asks, could you add to Griid to the ticker tape crawler? Yeah, I'll see if we can add it to it if you guys want it in there. So Hive is at fair blue on spreadsheet, but very undervalued on enterprise value. Yeah, looking at it that way, based on what they're being priced in at their hash rate, extra hash rate now, it's very undervalued for that. But it is looking like it's pretty good valued on just where I see, and that's based on growth, right? So I'm using a lower PE ratio for them because I don't see a lot of growth for them. If I increase that, that would get them up much higher in the potential target price for them where they should be. Let's see. Benjamin, congrats on Riven. Thank you, but I'm still in the red on that one. I've been buying it. Well, I haven't been buying it in the last year or so, in probably a year and a half. But I was buying it at much higher prices, so I'm still in the red on it. I think I need it to be like at $30 in order for me to break even on it. Question is, buying Bitcoin cheaper than the miners currently? I don't think so. And the reason I don't think so is because the miners are proxy play on Bitcoin. So Bitcoin goes up 2x, the miners will do 3, 5, 6x on top of that. So it just depends. I mean, I have Bitcoin and I have miners as well. Right, so there's a couple ways to do it. You see Rivian reaching Tesla market cap? No. And the reason for that is Tesla is not just a car company. It's a software company. It's an AI company. It's a robo-taxi company potentially as well, right? So they have insurance as well. I forgot about that. Robots going in there, right? So they're working on all these other things where I think Rivian is just not in those spaces. So I think if Rivian can get maybe 1/5 of the market cap that Tesla is at, or a quarter of that, I think that'd be great. But we'll see. It's still very early on for Rivian. They still have to make themselves positive for a quarter, right? They're doing the right things. I think it's taken Tesla a while to be profitable as well, right? As you're growing, you're building out plants and everything else. That costs money. You need to get production ramped up and all that stuff. So it's going to take a little while longer. Rivian for me was much more of a longer play, like a 5 to 10 year play potentially. Whereas I saw the miners are going to be probably popping a lot faster. That's why I kind of sold 90% of what I had in Rivian and put it into the miners as well, because I knew that those were going to be popping faster. Let's see. Why are miners so important from HPC point? There are already public cloud providers who provide compute. Is it cheaper alternative to public cloud? I think it is cheaper if you can get in with a hosting provider like Core or somebody like that, or somebody else. And then also a lot of these guys, I've heard this before, I don't know how true this is, but a lot of these customers don't want to be using the systems that their competition might be using as well, right? Like Amazon Cloud, Google, Microsoft, right? They're all getting into AI as well. So there might be a reason for it as well. With Soluna rocketing the last few days, would you consider adding them to your exceptional recaps and analysis? I covered Soluna back in 2022. Then they got into financial issues. At that point, it looks like they've gotten out of those for the most part, it looks like. But they're still a small miner, and a lot of the deals that they're doing are like with partnering with people. And I just don't know how much growth they're going to have going forward. We'll have to see, right? I'm going to keep an eye on them, see how they're doing. But right now, my cutoff is like 5 exahash for the miners for self-mining to get to this year. If they can get to that, I'll include them. But a lot of the smaller guys, that doesn't mean that they won't do well. But the price could do, a 10x. You just never know with those guys because they're just so small. They don't have a lot of shares outstanding. Their market cap is small. it doesn't take much to pump those things up much higher. So you just never know with those guys. But then again, you could never know, and it could go down much lower. So that's always the risk with the smaller guys. Let's see here. More than 200 people are watching. Kindly support sub by clicking the like button. Yes, please do that if you can. Greatly appreciate it, and thank you for mentioning that. And then it looks like I'm getting caught up with your guys' questions here. What's your thoughts on BitDeer? James from Invest Answers recently turned bullish on BitDeer, and he has good record of picking winners and miners. So BitDeer has a lot of possibilities going forward. The possibilities are into 2025 and 2026. Now, a lot of the growth, like I said, is going to be in those years. They don't have much growth going into this year. They are supposed to be adding another, I believe, 3 exahash by the end of this year once they start getting their own seal miners in place, right? So they have that. They also have a bunch of different business segments, self-mining, hosting. Then they have, what do they call it? I can't remember what they actually call it, but it's basically you rent out ASICs to mine with. It's not hosting, it's it's not even co-location. I can't remember what term that they use. But they have that, and they have the ASICs manufacturing as well. And that's a new side thing that they're doing right now. We'll see how that works out, how well adopted those miners become, and how much revenue they can generate from it. So a lot of the growth is in 2025 and into 2026. For this cycle, my concern is they might be on the tail end of the bull run potentially, right? So they might miss it. I don't know if they will, but that's kind of my thoughts on it. And that's kind of why I'm not getting interested in them just yet. I think they're a good miner. They have a lot of interesting things happening, but the growth, I'd like to see that be more front run than back run in the bull run. When do you see Cleanspark will start pumping again? I think we'll see what they report for June. They're supposed to get to 20 exahash. If they can get there, that'll be good. If they provide us more information on further purchases for facilities to get to 32 exahash by the end of the year, that might be good there as well. And we might be seeing the other miners running up a little bit now, right? Kind of catching up to Cleanspark a little bit. And when that happens, we may have a rotation back into like Marathon, Riot, Cleanspark, and some of the other ones that haven't been as loved recently. So we do have this rotation happening from time to time where once the bigger guys run up, then we get a rotation into the smaller guys. Those guys run up, and then we have a rotation back into the bigger guys, and it does happen kind of from time to time. I said, what is your timeline for BTC will cross 100,000, or is this the top for 2024-25? I think we might be able to cross or get closer cross 100,000 this year. It's not too far away. It's only 50% away from where we are right now, roughly. I think that's doable this year, possibly as well. But we'll see. All right, guys. I am all caught up with your guys' questions here. So great show. Thank you, everyone, for coming in here. Greatly appreciate you guys. We'll see what kind of information we get tomorrow. Why am I muted? Muted. Okay, no, I'm not muted, it looks like. Or am I muted? Muted, unmuted. Okay, so hopefully I'm unmuted right now because it freaked me out here a little bit. Showed that I was being muted. But we'll see what happens tomorrow. We'll see what kind of updates we get on it. And we'll see where things go with Bitcoin miners and everything else. Like I keep saying every time, I think we're still early in this. I'll give you guys a little story from today. So today I had a delivery of hardware being installed to our house. The gentleman there was a young gentleman. He was in his 20s. He was going to college, right? So we kind of started chatting a little bit. And I asked him what he's going into. What's his major going to be in college? He goes finance. I'm like, oh, great. So are you investing in like Bitcoin and any altcoins or things like that? He's like, yeah, I have some altcoins, but I don't have any Bitcoin. I'm like, why don't you get into Bitcoin? And he says it's too volatile right now. I'm like, oh my gosh. Somebody that's going into finance and possibly into investing with somebody that's young as he was, seemed like a pretty smart guy as well. I was a little surprised that he wasn't investing in Bitcoin. And that kind of gave me the sign thinking we're still very early on. If we have young people right now, generation, right, the young generation that maybe this is just 1 out of 1,000 or something like that, or 100,000, whatever it might be, that's not looking into Bitcoin and the possibilities with Bitcoin and what that actually has going forward for them, then I think we're still very, very early on in this Bitcoin generation. So With this cycle, I think we're still very early on. We are definitely due for a nice run up, I believe. And we're just past the halving event, only about, 2 months now past the halving event. Usually right around the third and fourth month is when we start seeing a little bit more appreciation in Bitcoin. Bitcoin looks like it's kind of bottomed out right now. That's kind of what I'm looking at right now. So I'm patient. I'm still buying into the things that I believe are going to do well going forward. And hopefully that works out. Eventually the hard part is going to be taking profits. But we'll talk about that when that happens and when we get closer to that as well. But nonetheless, thank you so much for coming in here. Greatly appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you learned something. I sometimes learn from you guys as well. You guys provide some great insight in there, some great questions that make me think, which I appreciate. So I'll see you guys. Tomorrow's Wednesday. We'll do another one on Thursday. Friday we'll be off. And then we'll do something on Saturday or Sunday as well. Okay? So have a great night, everyone. Thank you again. I'll see you next one.